Welcome, everyone. We're glad to see you today, both on ground and online. We want to thank all of you for visiting. So first, let me invite Jim up here, Jim Kiggins. He is our dean, and he's going to start us off.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. So this is Campus to Career. The idea of this event is for us to be able to explain how the Career Services team helps students at the university launch themselves into their career from the campus. And for those of you that are not yet students at the university, the way it works here at USV is that every student is assigned an advisor, and that advisor is going to accompany them through their journey at the university. So the advisors play an important role as well in the Career Services team. Zoe is the Dean of Academic Affairs. Thank you. And also in charge of the audio programs, software development, and computer science. So to start, we have our summer internship that starts on May 12th. The application is open on the website until tomorrow night. So tomorrow is the cutoff for summer interns. Those are for qualified seniors, and each of the job descriptions are posted online. And if someone can drop in the chat the link to where that branch is on our website, that application form is on our website. Go there by the end of the day tomorrow and apply, and we'll be announcing selections on Friday for those internships that are going to start on May 12th. How those internships work is we have internships that are paid by employers, and then those students are actually working as employees for those employers while they're also enrolled in a 4-unit course for internship here at the university. So you get the best of both worlds. You're in a project class, except it's not a project class. You're actually employed at an employer. One benefit is that at the end of the internship, you actually have work experience, paid work experience, either W-2 or 1099. So when you're presenting your resume to a future employer and job prospect, you're able to say, I worked at Endless Studios, I worked at the Glimpse Group, I worked at Mindloom, whatever the company is, and it's not working as an intern. And then in turn, we ask the employers, don't treat our interns like students, treat them like employees. So then the students will tell you, and I'm sure you'll see some here that are on the Zoom that can comment in the chat, what that experience is like working as an employee rather than working as a student. So what we'd like to do is, whether it's online and you ask in the chat, or if you'd like to ask a question here in the room, just raise your hand. Kari will bring the mic over. This is information for you. So as we go along today, if you have questions, please do ask. We're happy to stop and address the questions as we go along. So we have a variety of internships that are open for the summer, and at the top of the list is our partner, Endless Studios, and I see that Dave Hurwitz is with us. If you could share a little bit about Endless Studios and your mission and what you do with the NSTAR platform.
Sure. So Endless Studios is about 3 years old. It's kind of an offshoot from Endless Foundation, which has been doing this work as a nonprofit all over the world for over 12 years now. This work being using the magic of making video games to teach transferable 21st century job skills to anybody who's looking for them. So picture yourself in a part of the world that is not the U.S., that doesn't have the same infrastructure, the same education system. So you all have distinct advantages in that. And so we've built Endless Studios really to help work with people like you to help to take the education that you're receiving at USV and other schools and launch yourself into the kind of career that you came to USV looking for. So we have built a platform called NSTAR that we can talk a little bit more about, but we've built NSTAR specifically as a teaching tool to help you kind of get the reps that you need to perfect your skills, to learn new skills, to build community, to get mentorship. And so it's the core of the platform that we use at Endless Studios.
Thanks, Dave. How many player creators are currently in the NSTAR platform now?
So it's early going for us. We probably have, I'd say, over 1,000, 1,200, something like that, registered users at the moment. We have teams that are in different parts of the world that are actively developing programming in the UAE, in Latin America, in parts of Africa as well, and obviously here in the US.
Can our students now just jump in and start using NSTAR before
Yeah,
they might be about the
absolutely.
internship?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. If you go to endlessstudios.com, you can either click to join, you can scroll down a little bit to the section that's about NSTAR, and you click on that. That will take you into launching, downloading the NSTAR launcher, and you can get in there and play. The idea behind NSTAR, just for those of you who have not had a chance to see it yet, I think it probably would not be a newsworthy story to a lot of you to say that your interest in game making came from gameplay when you wanted to hack your games. That's a story that we've heard all over the world, and that some of the best artists, coders, storytellers really kind of got into to game making in that way, and started to perfect their art by hacking those games. So Endless really decided that the right thing to do would be to build a platform that was really designed to welcome you into that hack, right? So we want to let you into the scripting layers, to Lua, to C# level, for those of you with Unity skills, get you into Unity, and allow you to take the core of this game, and think of it as like a Minecraft, and in that sort of spirit, and allow you to come in and add to the game and create new functionality, new art objects, new worlds that you can offer to the community, and your friends can come and play and they can join in. And so it's the idea that we all collectively together can build something that one of us, no one of us could do individually. And it's designed for your professors to be able to use this tool as a way of saying, okay, let's now demonstrate this principle. Let's talk about it in theory. Let's put it into action in NSTAR, and quickly be able to build something that you can then, see and play with directly.
Dave, is it too early to mention the evolution of the apprenticeship format?
No, not at all, Jim. So we've had one cohort, one intern group that's been working with us for the last 14, I don't know, 10, 12 weeks, something like that. They've been doing a fantastic job, and we're looking forward to having a new group start with us on the May 12th schedule that Jim talked about. In addition to that, Endless is busy working on something that we're calling a career accelerator. And very similar to what you're here to do today, what we're trying to do is to develop a self-guided tool that you can come in and say, okay, listen, I love playing games. I'm a great coder. What might that take me? What kind of path might that allow for me to take professionally? And what kind of education would I need in order to get there? And so we're developing this platform that says you can come in and say, and think sort of ChatGPT kind of style communication with an AI agent to help you through a lot of this, to say, here are my skills, my strengths, this is what I'm great at. And then we can help you to say, okay, have you ever thought about the following career types that would really value your specific hard skill and soft skill combination? And I think we'd all agree that if we have a specific goal in mind in anything that we're doing in life, the more specific the goal, the more likely we are to reach something close to that goal, or if not that goal specifically. So we're going to try to help you to define exactly what that passion for coding, as exhibited through your game making, might be able to take you to professionally, and then show you exactly what that job would look like, where you might find those jobs, what they would pay, all that information, and then say, okay, from where you are now and the skills you have now, here are the set of activities that you would need to take in order to get there, the education, the work experience, all those different things. And then we're going to try to help you to fill those gaps, working with NSTAR, working with the Endless Studios team. We have relationships with outside pro studios. The project that we're working on for our internships right now is in conjunction with a studio called SkyMap, which is an awesome studio of, I don't know, ballpark 100 people, I'm not sure, that's building a game in NSTAR with us right now that we intend to to ship and hopefully make good money. But that's really the sort of secondary benefit of this game, where we're trying to prove this model of getting everyone together, working with an outside studio, and getting people really valuable reps in, like Jim said earlier, in a pro working environment where these guys are working in sprints. They've got deliverables, they've got meetings, they've got deadlines. We're not pulling any punches for what it's like to work in the real world. And so to give you that experience, that you can prove that you have got that skill set down and that you're developing a portfolio that reflects that.
A couple comments to add on to what Dave was explaining. One of the things that is important today in industry is there's a recent report, the JetBrains report. This is self-reported from game companies in the United States. Over 50% of the game companies in the United States no longer make games for entertainment. Instead, they're making games for everything else: training, education, manufacturing, visualization, market, digital twins, the virtual worlds. So the setting that's being provided by Endless as a learning platform, it's a 3D platformer. It's an entertainment game, but it's being used for a learning purpose. So as an intern on this project, then you get an opportunity to see both sides of the equation, making great play for a 3D platformer while also working on a learning product. And for those of you that are brand new or prospects that are interested in the university, something that we're starting in the fall is when you take Game 101, you'll actually be using the NSTAR platform in your course. So you'll be doing mechanics in NSTAR, you'll be doing a level design in NSTAR, you'll be working on puzzles in NSTAR, you'll actually be working in small teams in this multi-user, user-generated 3D platformer as part of the course. And we intend to work with Endless Studios and build this out across the entire curriculum so that there will be opportunities to do this for our students. And a very important part of that is there was a recent announcement by Andrew Wilson, the CEO of EA, that they're making a pivot. They're making a pivot to user-generated content. So instead of always making titles that are based on some kind of popular intellectual property, movies, whatever it is, they're actually going to be following the path, paved by Minecraft and by Epic with Fortnite and with Roblox, and in this case with Dave and Endless Studios and NSTAR. So Dave, before we go, if I could ask you unscripted question here, what would you say is one of the most important things that a student can be thinking about in preparing to work in NSTAR?
I think we tend to define ourselves as students as I know how to do A, B, and C, and I'm trying to learn D. And I would encourage you all to think of yourself more holistically and say, the thing that drew you to game making and game play in the beginning was the creativity, the fun side of it. And so, it's good to have your functional hat on, but take it off every once in a while and put yourself back in the game play mode and say, gosh, I have an idea for a game. Let me bring the idea. We talk about NSTAR as a community game. And so, yeah, we need to get stuff done, right? Especially if you're working with, say, SkyMap and you're building a specific game like they're building right now. But generally, NSTAR is there to help inspire your creativity and to allow you to demonstrate a really broad set of skills that's both hard skill and soft skill, right? So it's, yes, I'm writing code that's allowing the character to do new things. That's awesome. But at the same time, I'm also demonstrating that I have good teamwork skills, good communication skills, problem-solving skills. And those things, I can tell you as an employer, are almost, and in some cases, more valuable to me than your ability to code. The ability to code is, if you think of that as the commoditized version of what will get you hired, everybody's got that when they apply. What makes you different and better and more interesting is your ability to say, I'm someone who can code, who's also a problem-solving creator, communicator, who's a great team member. That's a valuable person. So NSTAR is a great place to practice and exhibit that kind of whole range of yourself, which is what employers are dying to see.
what great advice. So sorry for going off the reservation there, but I really appreciate it. So,
Sure. Hey, Jim, can I just say one, just in terms of like trying to punctuate this with a specific call to action? And correct me if I'm wrong. I think we have the internship filled, but we would still, if you're interested in something I've said, anything I've said says, I really want to figure out how to work with them. We'd love to hear from you and kind of get a dialogue going. So if you can reach out maybe to you, Jim, and say, is there anything on the intern side we could do potentially? But then also, we have not yet launched this career accelerator that I've talked about, and we will do that over the course of this next block. But if you're interested in finding out more about that, and I would tell you that, you're sort of the first school that we've come to talk about this. If you want to be on the cutting edge of that and say you'd like to be part of our beta test, just again, let Jim know. We can just kind of get a list of emails and names. And as soon as we're opening the doors on that, if you'd like to be part of it, we'd love to have you.
And I'm assuming that opportunity would be open to high school faculty that might be interested in working with their students.
100%. The intention of this is to take people from whether they're in high school or in their college careers who are saying, I know what I love to do, but I don't know exactly what kind of career trajectory that's going to take for me. We want to help give you specific guidance on exactly what that could be. Set a goal that like just blows your mind and says, holy crap, I could do that for a living. And I just censored my actual language there. I could do that for a living. You mean that's a real job? We say yes, and then here's how to get there. And then you work with the awesome team at USV to fill in some of those blanks. You work with us at Endless Studios and our partner studios, and you're off like a rocket.
That's the PG answer, by the way.
There you go.
Awesome.
Always.
Thanks, Dave.
Well, not always.
We have a couple other employers that we're going to meet, but Dave, if you can hang around for a little bit, we're going to have a Q&A at the end. So
sure.
we'll be able to field questions that anyone might have. So we can see if we can stay on our timeline here. So that's a great example of the university responding to change in the game industry. We're working in a learning development, and we're doing it with user-generated content. I'm going to tell you about the Glimpse Group. So the Glimpse Group is a company that is a merger and acquisitions company that is publicly traded on NASDAQ that owns a number of subsidiaries. And they do XR products. They do products that are in VR, AR, MR, XR, all the Rs. So Glimpse makes products that you're probably interacting with now and you don't realize it. So if you have been to an NBA game, or you've been to a baseball game and you've had your picture taken with a holographic image of a professional posed with the pros, that's a product from Glimpse Group. If you have ever tried on something with your phone called Try On Fit, where you hold the phone in front of you and you have a selfie and it shows the merchandise that you're interested in seeing, shirts, shoes, pants, whatever it is, and it's happening on your phone, again, a product from the Glimpse Group. If you have been shopping on some online site and you're able to take 3D models and put them into your space in your house and see what they look like, again, a product from the Glimpse Group. So the Glimpse Group, which makes all of these XR products, has a specific product called Clinic Immersives, which is clinical immersive training delivered in VR. And we have an internship for that product. And this last spring, the team had an emergency need to roll out a change in the product to a client, and it had to be done by the end of Q1. So that means it had to be done by the end of March. So one of our interns joined their team to help with them, and our engineer, and really got a taste of what it's like to work in a professional environment when they're facing a shipping deadline like the end of the quarter. Because as the end of the quarter came closer and closer, then the stress starts to crank up. Problems that were small become problems that are big. It was really a great experience for our intern to work on that product. And we have more of the same that will be going forward into the summer. That's part of the internships that you'll see that are linked on the website. So this is probably a good time before we move on to other employers. Does anybody have any questions that we can ask of Dave, either here on site or online?
Liam asks, are there any remote options?
Yes, everything we've talked about is a remote option.
You mentioned that the internships are already full. Does that mean we're not going to have interviews next week, or are we still going to have them?
Oh no, we're still having interviews. So we have more internship slots that are available than we have students that have applied. So we're accepting applications through the end of the day tomorrow. And then once those close, then we'll be notifying everybody that's been selected to be interviewed for one of the positions.
Okay, all right.
So a question that was asked before we move on, I don't want to lose this, about whether there are options to work remotely. And one of the things that's an important feature of this, Dave said everything is remote, and that's an industry standard now. There are almost no companies where everybody's working. It's become the state of the industry that people work remotely, and being able to do that effectively is a critical skill. And all of the work that you're doing on the Endless platform, you're working with developers across the country, mostly on the East Coast, as well as the Endless team, some of which is in the Middle East.
Hi, my name is Jordan. I'm a freshman here at USV. A 3D character animator is my focus, and I've been wondering for your internship opportunities for now and in the future, if since it's all user-generated content, if character animators such as myself, would there be opportunities for us to connect and even find out applications?
Great question, Jordan. So the art position that's listed on the website, if you're a DAA artist and you look at that job description and you go, I can do all that, then apply. So if you have a lot of experience making art that's being developed to be used real time as well as for pre-rendered, we'd love to have you apply. And I can also let you know that this is the start of our internship program that we started in the spring, and we're evolving this also for DAA going into the future. So one of the things that we've already put in place is an internship program for individual paid internships, because that's going to be more common than large team internships in animation. And as an example, we have a student that's going to be doing that this summer. She's an employee at Adobe, and she's a university student. And through her employer, she has an internship opportunity where she's going to be working as a paid intern as an animator at Adobe, and she's able to get project credit for her project class as a paid intern individually. So that's one example of what we're going to be evolving into going into the fall for DAA.
And,
what was
and
the
Jim,
next
if I could just,
Sure, go ahead,
Jim,
Dave.
can I just add one thing to that? Is that one of the things that we're working on with SkyMap is also adding bounties that might be generally available. So we'll continue to let Jim know so we can spread the word, but that might be, not something that is sort of a consistent paid internship role, but as a community game, as we're working on developing these art objects and our portfolios of different worlds and objects and things, we may well put up bounties that would be a great way to kind of prove yourself and stuff that you could easily add to your portfolio and maybe make a little money along the way.
Thanks, Dave. And that opportunity is available now, isn't it? The bounty system outside
Yes,
of
we
what
do
we're
have
doing.
some out there now. Yeah.
Excellent.
Thank you. Hi. So I'm very interested in Endless Studios, especially the mission. I think it is interesting how the industry is going towards like a more Fortnite / Roblox / like kind of Minecraft formula. So I have a question. So currently I am my specialty in game design is game writing. I have experience in like other fields as well, but like game writing is like game writing / being an aero design is my specialty. So at Endless Studios, like what's the life of a game writer like?
So Dave, do you want to describe what they're doing with the Express project with SkyMap in this group that's working now?
Do you want to get started on that one? Just from your take on that?
Okay. So to answer this question that Madison had about what's it like to be a game writer, game designer, working in this environment. So the proof of concept that Endless is exploring right now is what kind of learning can best be suited in this kind of a platform. So it's essentially a 3D platformer that lends very well toward RPG. So Madison, I'm sure you know where I'm going here. So then that means that every lesson that our internship team is working on is situated in some kind of an RPG format. So you're a player, you're working with your guild, with your group, with your team that you've assembled, and you have missions that you have to accomplish. You have to use some certain technologies in the platform to be able to do that, but it's all very heavily story-based, as you would expect of an RPG. So it's an RPG, kind of a puzzle platformer.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And I would say that experience, we want to lead with that design. This is the Express game that Jim had mentioned is a language learning quest built around this community building idea. And you should think about Endless Studios very much in that global format that Jim said. Matt Dahlia, who's our founder, Matt's in the UAE right now, and spends a lot of time in Abu Dhabi. So we're very globally focused, very language oriented. And so you can imagine putting together a community game that wants to invite people from all over the world to tell cultural stories about their country, to teach their language, to teach basics of language. It absolutely it screams for people that want to design that into their own particular world, their own particular circumstance. It sort of says, how can I create a small snapshot of what my life, my culture is like in order to share that with the world? So, just in sort of without, it's hard to not say this, but there are endless possibilities with that.
Awesome.
Okay, there we go.
Thank you very much.
Awesome.
So while you were gone, I just made up all kinds of stuff about the Glimpse Group. So maybe you can correct that and tell us about the Glimpse Group companies and the products that you make.
But in general, I can talk at a very high level and say that we are a enterprise virtual and augmented reality company focused on using XR technology, which the underlying technology there is, in general, ends up being Unity and Unreal, right? So this is, in essence, we are using games technology to solve real world problems is really what we're doing. That's not what we're going to say when talking to the investors and things and other like partners, customers, and things like that. But for this audience, the people who are actually building it, that is what we're doing, is we're using games and games technology to do some really exciting things. And so we have the way we're a little bit of a unique company because we specifically started in 2016, and from there basically started buying smaller companies and created these different divisions. And in 2021, we went public. And the core concept and idea is that because we're using these same underlying technologies, is that the different subsidiaries can work together and basically reuse something. Because you build a multiplayer framework, you can then reuse that later in a different project, even though another subsidiary might be working in a completely different industry. That same underlying infrastructure can be reused. So it's no different than how a game studio, if you follow like Naughty Dog and others, they're gonna, if they've been making changes to their own engine, they're gonna reuse that into what they create next. So it's taking that same core kind of concept and using it at an enterprise level, where these the way you interact with things, the way you pick up things, there's no reason to code that from scratch every time you start a new project or do a new product. And that's really the key part of it. And in 2021, we went public with the ticker VRAR as the Glimpse Group. And since then, we now have 4 different subsidiaries that we're focusing on. So one of those, which I'll go into more detail, is Glimpse Learning, which is the one that I'm most responsible for and work with the more directly, whereas like our other subsidiaries do work with the U.S. Navy, as well as universities and the entertainment side of things as well. So things like working with like Disney for fan experiences, Dallas Cowboys, and even AT&T inside their stores. But yeah, in general, that's a kind of high level overview. And so not all of our solutions are just virtual reality or augmented reality. Some of the things we do end up being WebXR as well, or will just be a 3D environment that may work on an iPad, and then have XR components within it. So the main thing here is that these underlying skills that you're learning now can be applied in all of these different industries and not just gaming.
Awesome. Thanks, Craig. That's a great overview. So in addition to being the Director of Strategic Alliances at Glimpse, Craig is also a developer. And let's shift gears a little bit, kind of a story from the trenches. So you had a Q1 deliverable, and we had an intern that was working with you, which you were leading yourself directly. Tell us what happened.
Yeah, so we had a really interesting challenge where we have a partner called Z-Space, which is actually right across the street from your university. And so they have these laptops that then allow you to have like a little bit of a 3D kind of view of what's happening in front of you, and you interact it with the Logitech pen. And so they are in a lot of schools, and there are a lot of challenges of bringing virtual reality into schools. But right now, Z-Space is actually in more than 2,000 schools, which there really is no one like virtual reality education company that has really hit that kind of scale. And so we saw, but there is a huge need right now, specifically in education, as well as the workforce, where we have a shortage of medical staff and medical professionals, is specifically in allied health. And one of our products is called Medical Assisting Skills Lab, that trains the 33 different clinical skills required to become a medical assistant on exams like the CCMA, which are the national exams that you would need to take before you can practice. And we have that product in our Clinic Immersives product suite. And Z-Space wanted us to port that to their product. So we had to take something that was built for virtual reality and make that to where it now worked both on a PC and desktop, but also uses their features of having this interactive 3D space in front of the screen. And so we had to port that, and we broke it up into 3 separate stages to really like determine how to do that port, because we had already started porting some of our products to PC. So of those 33 labs, I want to say like 16 of them had already been ported to PC, and others of them had not. So one interesting challenge of kind of going from VR to PC is the way the user interacts with things, right? So with virtual reality, I can tell you to just pick up that object as an instruction of like the step of what you're supposed to do. Whereas in 2D, now there's a layer of abstraction in the controls. So now you, instead of just pick something up, where you tell the user and they'll reach over, they'll grab it and usually understand it to be able to pull the trigger to pick up the object. But now they have to like move the mouse over, and then they have to click. And we specifically pride ourselves on what we call delightful interactions, where we even have these helpers that then show the user what to do, and really like make it fun with it. When you do pick it up, you're like, oh, that's really nice and easy to understand. We have things called snap zones, and really it's our framework for interacting that make it easier to build these. And so some of those frameworks ported over really well, where there wasn't a whole lot that we had to do to port it. But others, like basically you would go through each lab and eventually you get to a point where you're like, oh, it doesn't work. And that's where we then, okay, now we have to change something or think about this differently, because we're using a mouse instead of XR. And the instructions, the one is the user instructions changing, right? So now you have to like mouse over and you have to click on this. But other parts we're basically trying to figure out where it breaks and then having people come in. So that's where our amazing intern Scott came in, and Mark was there too. We're able to come in and really like dig into, okay, now I see why this isn't working. And we're able to work with our engineers, as well as using Confluence to keep track of progress as that went on. And so we're working as a team, kind of communicating these things, going through each lab. So that first part was getting it ported from VR to PC. And once that was done, we then went through and fixed visual errors. So it's things where like a hand grabbing something was in a weird position. So then that got fixed. And then the third pass was the adding disease space specific controls and instructions that added. So we broke it up into 3 different stages, and we're able to get those 17 remaining labs completed over about a 4-week period, which is really impressive by the USV team and our team to get it done in that timeline.
Really, really impressive, and congratulations. And unbeknownst to you, Scott shared with us, because you're used to this, after the fact, like, wow, that was a lot. That last weekend, that was a lot. So one thing that I want to put into context before we move on is this Clinic Immersives product that you're working on, our students are working on in XR, is used for nurses and medical assistants to train. So over 2,000 nurses and medical students have used this product. So they're going out, that's how they did their clinical work, they're going out into the world. Each of them is going to touch 30,000 patients in their career. So you can do the math, 2,000 times 30,000, how many lives have been impacted by the work that was being done by our students on that product. So Craig, I want to ask you a question that I asked Dave, might have been before you were able to join us. What would your advice be, one piece of advice, most important thing that someone could do to, one of our students could do to prepare themselves to work in XR production?
Yeah, and as it gets more and more, a lot of XR specifically requires a lot of understanding of the entire stack of game development. So it's being familiar with both 3D asset creation, shader creation, and the coding part of it. So even if you're a designer, knowing a little bit of coding is going to make you seem way more of a superstar than just being a designer that's just focused on being a designer. And same for coders, of even just being able to do programmer level art and understanding what needs to be done. Because what that does is it gives you the knowledge to be able to communicate with the rest of the team when you notice something's wrong somewhere in the pipeline. Because then you'll have the knowledge to figure out, oh, this is a lighting issue, or oh, this wasn't baked properly, or oh, the UV is off, the UV mapping is off here and needs to be reworked, about why this is an issue. And it really helps you be able to understand what is wrong or not wrong, and kind of diversifying your skill set. And a lot of people will say like, oh, being a generalist isn't a good thing. But you still want at least like a general level of knowledge. And I think that's going to be a continued debate in the industry about specifying a very specific career task versus trying to know a little bit of everything. But I will say that specifically in XR, knowing everything in the tech stack is going to give you a leg up, because all of it does come together, and not understanding a part of it specifically, like if you're an XR engineer and you're just bringing in 3D models and you don't know what you're doing, you're actually going to cause frame rate problems. So it's like you have to know that, so you can know that, oh yeah, this does need to be optimized, and knowing how to optimize it, being able to tell the artist who may not be familiar or working with XR is pretty important there.
That's great advice, Craig. Thanks. So if you're a prospective student, you're not a student yet here at the university, and you're here with us now or watching the recording, what Craig was talking about when he said tech stack is all the applications that are used by all the members of the team to make the product. So you have artists using Maya, you have artists and engineers that are using Unreal or Unity as a game engine. Everybody's using some kind of Adobe product in addition to that, and then all the back-end tools that are used to make the web development for the enterprise. Are there any questions for Craig, either here in the room or online?
It looks like there's a question online. Marshall's asking, has Glimpse Group worked with USD assets for the 3D art at all?
If I'm understanding the question correctly, it's just like as a part of the internship, were 3D
Yes.
assets. Oh, is USD used? Yes. So that's definitely one of the many file formats. Specifically, with USD, I believe even what we're doing with the Navy and otherwise is actually very tied to that file format and making things usable. So yes, that understanding that and its kind of implications is definitely another kind of big up. So that's even if you're a programmer, I would recommend going through and understanding like, wait, why is USD so important being talked about right now? Because we are seeing a lot of implications and even asks from the federal level and some of what we're doing with the Navy around the USD file format.
What a cool question. So that's about a file format, a system of file formats that's been around for a long, long time. In fact, it's been around for so long that when it first came back into vogue, I asked one day at work, like, why are we talking about USD? And then everyone said, because that's what everybody's using. And if you look at what's happening at NVIDIA, for example, and lots of other really large companies with multiverse projects going on, that's kind of become the standard that a lot of companies are working toward. Any other questions in chat or here's a question in the room?
We don't have any questions, but we have two folks that have their hands up.
Okay, we have one question here in the room and then we'll go to the hands up.
Hi. I just wonder, like, is there gonna be any sort of full-time opportunities? Or this is just about internships?
That's a great question. So the question is, will there be full-time opportunities or are we going to be talking about full-time opportunities? So the whole purpose of our event that we're doing today is to talk about how our career services team is helping you get launched from the campus into your career. So the first step is to be able to get some paid experience because you can't get a full-time job. You can't even get selected to interview if you don't have some actual experience in your resume. So while you're here at the university, we're giving you the opportunity to get that experience. And then the next step is actually competing for work in a full-time position. So Ender, who I introduced earlier in the event, is going to be the first point of contact, and she's already assembling a network of employers, both entertainment and non-entertainment, where there are opportunities, and those opportunities are going to be highlighted. But I would caution everybody here at the university to be aware that while the opportunities look great, they look great to everybody. And it's a very soft industry right now. So you have to become competitive in order to even get an interview. That's why these internships play such a crucial role, because it gives you an opportunity to get your resume selected from the resume screen reader because of the internship paid experience that you have.
We have another question here.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm a USV alumni, and I had a question about the internships. Are these internship opportunities also available for alumni as well?
Yes, they are. And then same will be true for, I mean, whether it's game or software dev or DA or whatever it is, alumni are quite welcome. And we have alumni that are working on the internship projects now. Craig mentioned that Mark was working with Scott, and Mark's an alumni who's working in that capacity. Let's go to a hand up that's online.
The first one is Andreas McKenzie.
Oh yeah, hi, this is Andreas. I was just wondering, like, the future goal of the Glimpse Group, is it like to like incorporate the XR technology into like learning? Because like the way that I see it, like it's like you're pretty much, it's more hands-on rather than like, oh, go read a book, which I find more informative because it's like it's right in front of you. It's like action. Like pretty much like people always say like, oh, like, yeah, you can always talk about it, but it's better to act on something, to do it rather than to just say you're doing it.
Yep, and that's an excellent point. And there are lots of benefits of using virtual reality specifically because you are involving your body and your motor functions. And by actually doing it, not only does it help you remember because you have that memory palace of, okay, then I had to move over here, I had to walk over here, I had to pick up this item, grab it, and then place it. Right. So those sorts of things, the more of your body you involve in any specific task, the more likely you are to remember it. And the other thing that's nice is being able to repeat it. So it's being able to do it over and over and over again. So there's different kind of, we talked a little bit about the port, how there's a different layer of abstraction. When you're reading, that's a whole nother layer of abstraction where you're just taking the text and you're trying to think about what it would be like or what you're trying to do in your mind. Whereas watching a video is kind of a next step and be like, okay, now I see it and involve it. And then doing it on PC, now you're doing it and you're interacting with the mouse versus once I put on the controllers and the headset, now I feel like I'm actually there in front of it. I'm having to move around and I'm picking it up. And the more involved you are, the better the learning outcomes are. it's actually a very strong superpower of virtual reality is to be able to go in there and actually experience it and do the task.
Great question, great answer. And to experience things that couldn't possibly exist in any other context.
Yep, and this is actually our first semester working with USV. And so right now we've worked with 2 different students from USV so far. So this is we're really just getting started in terms of working with USV. And as far as like how big of a company we have over 54 employees and around 11 million in revenue year over year. And one of the things, we actually do have other companies that we own that actually have over 100 employees that we partially own because we invested them. So some of our subsidiaries were able to spin out and get funding outside of us, but we still retain ownership in them. So if you count those other companies that we have partial ownership in, we actually have over 150 plus people and companies that we work with. But as far as like officially on the books employees, we have around 54.
Harvard Med School, Boston Medical University, some of the other schools that you've been working with.
Yep. And so with BMC specifically, we just finished maternal health training in VR. So that's where the nurse goes in with a clinician and they actually go through the whole steps of kind of birth and maternal care and through that process. So that one is a little bit different than our Clinic Immersive product suite because it's multi-user and it also requires that a facilitator manages the training and kind of runs through it. So you do need staff there in order to use that specific application. And the main thing that they're using for that is now it still makes it a little more accessible than trying to do this inside either doing videos or around like a mannequin in a room, which is how they would normally do it. But now by doing it in VR, you can show a lot more. There's a lot more you can do in simulation specifically, and then still have that conversation between the clinician and the nurse about like what should be done at each of the steps as the training advances. So that's specifically what we've done with BMC. And there's actually another university that wasn't mentioned in the question called Nova Southeastern, where we've been building an interactive AI agent. And that tool specifically, we've been able to use that with even other universities that are currently kind of exploring different use cases. So one was in the healthcare space of using it for training the soft skills of like delivering bad news to a patient. So how do you explain to someone that they're going to die in a year, right? How do you deliver that kind of bad news? So being able to practice that in role play can be tolling if that's someone's like job to like role play that with different positions, right? So being able to do it with an AI agent, you kind of take that workload off, and now instead of having to schedule time with another person to practice, you can practice it over and over again. And the other thing is you get a transcript at the end of it of the conversation, in addition to actual feedback from that, basically how well along the curriculum you did. So one of the things that I really love in the demo video that we have for this is in the demo video, it just goes straight into saying like you have 1 year to live. Right after asking the patient, like, are you ready to hear this? And the feedback is this was abrupt, gave the patient no expectation around like how this is going to be delivered, and it's all actionable feedback. So it's not just like having the conversation and role play. You can actually go and see like, okay, how well did I follow the spikes protocol in how to best deliver this message with empathy and care for the patient and like where they are, and really doing it in a way that is going to soften the blow and allow them to meet the patient where they're at. And it's been interesting kind of watching even some people on our team who are QAing this, how much better they've gotten at delivering that kind of conversation while working on it. So a lot of like what universities are interested in there's definitely more out there than could possibly be built. So there's always room to kind of do something new, and typically that's where a lot of XR looks like prototypes, because they are typically built on small like budgets and then later productized. for a lot of the industry, where you're able to get specific federal grants to build like one specific use case. And then after you get a success, you're able to kind of build on that and get to better and better kind of feel, better polish, and kind of improve it over time.
So Roberto asks, do any of the internships include the opportunity for audio implementation and sound design?
Yes. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and the answer is absolutely. So especially in VR specifically, I feel like in terms of like people's perception of what it is, if it's like watching a movie and then turning off the sound. If you do the same in VR, it's like a completely different experience. So having that in there is always important. And anytime you have someone who's actually an expert in sound come in and be like, oh, can I like they want to improve this and tweak this, and they kind of change it, and you're also able to mess with spatial audio and get the benefits of that, of having the voice sound like it's coming over here, and when I turn my head, I then hear it now in my right ear versus my left ear. There's a lot of things for audio, and there's ways to improve that audio. So even if you're working in something that already has all the assets, there's definitely lots of rooms of improvement to make it even better and more immersive. And anytime you really immerse someone in there and again give them those delightful moments, and I feel like there's a lot of ways to do that with audio. There's definitely ways to kind of bring that skill set and amplify what's going on in an XR project.
And audio will be a feature that will be added in the Endless platform, and it's also perfect timing because we're looking at that, incorporating that at the same time the new technology is being brought online in the audio program to do spatial audio. So really delivering a very realistic kind of an experience in VR. So Craig and Dave, thank you very much. Really appreciate the time and the advice, and look forward to more. And we're going to shift gears.
Okay.
So Kari, take it away.
All right. So we have some on-ground employers today too. So I know some of you, as you've been hearing all this, a question's going to come to mind online. You can put it in the chat. We'll make sure we get to it, but we'll have more questions and answers here at the end. But first, I'd like to start with Stephanie. Stephanie, would you please come up here? Stephanie is from Outward Inc., and she's also an alumni.
Hi, I'm Stephanie. This is Dasha. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Dasha is our executive assistant at Outward. I currently work as a senior content coordinator. So Outward Inc. is a visual technology that works, a visual company that works with the home furnishing industries. So our parent company is Williams-Sonoma. And what we do is underneath Williams-Sonoma, there are six different brands, and we create their the furniture that you see on there are 3D renders that the clients give to us to create. We all work off reference imagery, dimensions, CAD files, all the things that you can think of to create something. So how you would normally do it with a project that's given to you. And we create them in the most photorealistic way as much as possible. And that goes live on their website for the customers to look at when they're shopping for a new sofa or a crib. A couple of the things that we have done that is strictly Outward is we have a tool. It's a room planning tool. And what we do is based off of those 3D model files that we create, allows designers who work with higher paying clients that want to build offices or rooms or build how their mansion is going to look. They take all of those little pieces and put it all together in a room, put it into a cart, and then they can purchase it. But basically, we create 3D renders of all of these pieces because it's more sustainable for everyone. So the brands don't have to go out, create a sofa with a green velvet texture along with a brown crossweave texture. It's a waste of material and it's not good for the environment. So we do a lot of 3D renderings to help kind of speed up that process. Am I missing anything?
Well, ultimately, when you think of Williams-Sonoma and their brands, whether it's Pottery Barn, Teens, Kids, a green row rejuvenation, you probably think, well, this is something that maybe more my mom and dad would be interested, or maybe when I grow a little older, and then it's something that I'll be looking for when I establish a family. But ultimately, the work is actually extremely creative. Outward did start as a little startup, and about halfway through its existence, like 5, 6 years into it, Williams Sonoma realized the huge potential and how this is going to revolutionize how companies in general manage their digital assets, how they sell to customer, how they entice them. So obviously building revenue, but also being ahead of the game in terms of the digital environment. And so we still do have somewhat of a startup feel when you walk to our office. We're here in San Jose on Zanka Road. Now we're fully acquired, and pretty much Williams Sonoma became our parent company, which ultimately allows us to have the stability and the longevity of obviously job security, especially now with everything going on globally, locally, what have you. So it comes with the good perks and ultimately good background and resources, but it still allows us to foster the uniqueness of every single digital artist that works there. You can probably speak to that about like what people like to do in their free time and how that translates into what they do at work.
Yeah. So, as Kari mentioned before, I'm an alumni from here, and I finished with entertainment design, and then I continued on with the master's program for entrepreneurship and innovation. And I can tell you, at this job, I utilize almost everything that I learned here in school in my role. So I project coordinate a lot of stuff. So I work directly with the brands and the clientele that I need to work with every day. I'm in charge of 4 brands as out of the 7. I work with the 3D modeling team. I work with the texturing team. I work with the engineering team. There's sometimes where I'll test tools that they put into beta, and my job is to break it, and I usually tend to break them. And I also do QC, so I got to make sure the renders. I'm the last person to look at these renders that get sent to the customer. If they look good, we send them out. If it doesn't, I got to go back to the beginning of the pipeline and try to figure out where everything kind of went wrong. So it's not necessarily an entertainment industry, but it is a different type of industry where you can utilize all the things that you are learning here in school. And if anyone is interested in the master's program, I utilize everything I learned in in all of my business classes there all the time, from working with customers to planning out, scheduling, making sure everybody's hitting their deadlines, how to have those hard conversations with people if, things aren't being met. But outside of that, we all kind of just game with each other online. We go for boba runs on Thursdays, and we each of the different departments tend to have little outings together on their own. I think the modeling team went bowling at Big Al's last month, so we like to keep it it's a very small unit, but we like to keep the camaraderie growing all the time. There's dogs in the office. I think there's like 9 or 10 that hang out all the time, so it's fun, and we're moving into different things. So I can show you some stuff if you come by the table later, but we're moving into AI, adding it into color swap for smaller projects where we don't have to build out the model. It works off of a seed, and then it swaps the colors for us. All we have to do is input all the information. I've been testing that out. It's about 80% approval rate. So it's been working out. And then we just updated one of our own tools to have more of a realistic look on the website. So there's that. And then we do our interns. We are looking for 3D modeling interns.
You can say that louder.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, me? Okay, already. Well, yeah, it's official. We are currently looking for 3D artists. So we do have some things posted actually on Handshake. I'm not quite sure if you guys exist on that platform in terms of connections with future employers, but we'll work out the details. You'll find a way, we'll find you. But ultimately, anybody with 3D modeling experience, Blender, Maya, bunch of other servers and platforms, but we can talk details more. But currently, we are open for internships and possibly even for employment as well. So yeah, come talk to us later.
So stand tight. Mel, do we have
do
questions for him?
We do have one question. Hi, Stephanie.
Hey.
Marshall has a question. His question is, does Outward do any work with photogrammetry, possibly of the spaces being designed or capturing the furniture and pieces?
We used to do that. That would have been our Aperture program. Currently, what we're doing now is we are 3D modeling the scenes. So the customer would give us a reference image of what the wall and floor would look like. We match the lighting to the photography with a text that they put in. And then what we do is based off of the different texture requests that they have with it, we'll adjust the lighting to match a global kind of standard.
Hi, name is Jordan. Thank you for the presentation. And my question is in regards to what 3D modeling applications do you prefer us to like explore for your company?
So I will tell you that everyone that 3D model over there had started with Maya. The company prefers to use Blender. There are actually 4 other alumni that work there with me. One's on texturing, one is on the rendering team, and 3 are modelers. But they'll teach you there. You go through a whole training. I think about 3 weeks. You have a test, you do the training, and then the lead will work with you on how our tools work. We're constantly creating new tools within Blender anyway, so it's always going to change. But I would say if you want to get a head start, try to familiarize yourself with Blender a little bit, because I started trying to use Blender on my own. Is very different from Maya. It hurt my brain. So I do it in pieces throughout the week just to keep my brain with it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Anyone else? Thank you. So you can go visit with them when we're done here. Oh, thank you. Okay, and our next employer is from Burgundy Suite. Marcus, would you come up, please?
Hello, hello. How's it going, y'all? My name is Marcus. I work at Burgundy Suite. It's basically an all-in-one production house for audio, music, videos from beginning start to end. So an artist can come to us basically just saying, "Hey, I want to make a song," and then we'll sit down with them through the whole songwriting process front to back, help them write the lyrics, make the beat for them, record them in our studio, and then if after the song's released, they'd say, "Hey, I want to make a video for this." Well, guess what? We can do that too. We'll sit down, create a whole, storyboard for the video, plan out everything, find locations, find, depending on the video, find models, props, storylines, rent out warehouses, whatever needs to get done in order to make their vision come true.
We also have Lucas here from Less Fluorescent, if I'm saying that correctly.
Hello, my name is Lucas. I'm the founder of Less Fluorescent, and we're a product design company creating new experiences with cognitive technology. So neurotechnology, it's basically taking brain data and we're using it to improve medical technology as well as create interactive and immersive systems. So our first product project is focused on audio. So we're developing a hardware device for use with brain-computer interfaces, neurofeedback, and we're creating a platform for consumer and medical use of neurotechnology. We're basically an early stage startup. So at the moment, we're looking to network with people who would be interested in being involved as we grow as a company. And if you want to learn more about the neurotechnology industry, you can also be kept in the loop as we develop over the next few months.
We have people in this room who want to finish school and go to work. And I always like to have people learn from experience. So would you guys mind telling us, what would you have liked to know now that you didn't know then that you would advise people to do?
For the online people, this is Marcus again. Slightly different answer than what the question was, but I have noticed that some of the interns that we've had in the past just come in and they want to do one thing and one thing only. You definitely want to have an open mind at being able to, learn and absorb everything, all aspects of what's going on around you, instead of just trying to stick to, I want to do one thing and that's it.
Hi, I would say you have your mindset on a specific goal that you want to like it's your dream job that you want to have. If there is something that's similar to it, don't close yourself off to those opportunities, because you can get the work experience, which is what a lot of companies look for. So even if you're working as an executive assistant, you're learning everything that's within the company, you understand how the pipeline works, you can utilize that knowledge and get yourself moving up in the company in different departments. That's one thing I wish I knew before.
Basically, from a startup point of view, we're kind of looking for someone who would basically want to help push processes forward, especially as we're looking for opportunities. If there's something you want to focus on, you have the opportunity to kind of drive a project forward, as opposed to a bigger company where the roles are more defined already. So just be open to maybe taking on more of a leading role, especially if a company is smaller.
So Kari asked me this question. We were at a FanCom and out of nowhere, and she asked me this question, and I answered it like stream of consciousness without thinking about it. And my answer at the time was that if I could do it over again, what I would do differently is I would have stayed in animation. So I started my career, I worked for 7 years as an animator in the TV industry. And then I shifted to games. So I spent another 25 years doing that. Looking back on it, for me, the passion was animation. And if I had stayed there, if I had been more patient with what was happening in the industry, my shift was all due to economics. So I had a family, I needed to feed them, we needed to buy stuff. The gaming industry was starting to boom. The animation industry was soft, really, really long crunching hours. So it was really difficult. But looking back on it, I wish I had done that. So I would also, though, have to, now that I've had months to think about it, since you asked me that question, I'd have to say that this opened up some doors that I never would have anticipated, in terms of being able to go back into education and work with game as learning was a whole new area of research that was fascinating to me, and actually became, when people ask me like, what do you do? I'm a learning guy. I'm into learning. Like, how do you learn in best in games? So I wanted to ask Lucas a question since I got the mic. If someone can hand Lucas the other mic.
That would be me.
One of the things that's really popular now in interface peripherals in the game industry are brainwave access, so that you can read alpha and then you can take that information and you can do stuff with it. You can control an environment, you can whatever it is. What kind of applications are you using for the product that you're making?
So we're focusing on audio for our first product, but basically the technology that's in use, you're using like a headset that records different areas of the brain. So you're taking brainwave activity, and you can use that for a variety of purposes, either just showing people like the raw data so they can understand what states they're in. You can also use it in applications, so like you can connect it to Unity and control different elements of a game in real time. And we're trying to go in a musical direction. So applying brainwave activity to basically like musical cognition, how our brains react to music in real time. And eventually working on like a medical treatment. You can use your brainwave activity to treat conditions over time with different types of therapy.
So as a software developer, how am I reading that brainwave data and working with it?
Well, it's electrical activity. So you're converting like the waveform of the electrical activity to numbers, to data, and then you can perform like statistical operations. There's several softwares that are in use in the industry. It's basically like working with like coherence, the connectivity between different regions, and you can basically, since the area is pretty new, you can develop new implementations with the data, with a variety of like media applications.
Very cool. For Outward, I have a question. By the way, congratulations on the acquisition. So what's the future like for product visualization 12 months, 18 months, 24 months out?
For us, it's moving more towards AI and taking on more volume as far as customers. Really, it's what we're noticing is what's making it easier for the customers to shop. So we created another tool as a bedding visualizer. It allows customers to put different bed sheets, comforters, pillows on a bed, put it all together, and if they like it, they can save it, put it to the cart, and buy it. And our room planner tool has a mood board function now, so you can put together what you're looking for. The designer sees it, and then they work together to create whatever room it is that they're trying to create.
And are you doing anything in alternative realities, delivering it in AR, delivering it immersively in XR?
Yeah, we currently have one brand that has our AR visual tool live at the moment.
Awesome.
I just saw it today and it's actually really cool because from what we had before, and I have a before and after of what we used to do versus how it looks now, and it's way cleaner. We started to use Unreal at work for it, so that was something that was a new tool that I didn't know you could do that with. So it was interesting.
Thanks. That's all I had, Corey.
The question is what can you say to our new and prospective students who don't think they're good enough, talented enough? Can you address this?
Before I started working at Outward, I was out of a job for a good 6 months. I got laid off because of COVID, and I applied for jobs that were out of my scope, that were within my scope, and every single person rejected my resume, and I was upset. But there was something a previous employer had told me a long time ago is it's not a no, it's a not right now. You just got to figure out what it is exactly that you don't have. There's something that you're missing that you got to figure out what it is. So I utilized my network of friends, people that went here, people that I knew from working at Starbucks, and just kind of had them look over my stuff. And then we talked about different things that I could do, things that I could teach myself in the meantime. And I picked up a supervisor job at a high school. And I learned how to talk to people a little bit better, especially with kids, because they're a little rambunctious. But learning all of those interpersonal skills for yourself really helps out. Yeah, it's not a no. You're always enough. You just need to figure out what can make you better.
Real quick pitch. Tomorrow evening, we have a follow-up event. We're doing a Zoom presentation, and we're going to be talking about the player as creator. So it's the whole UGC evolution that's happening in the game industry, and we're going to be looking at all of the different platforms and doing some demonstrations of those and how those apply back to us. So that event is linked on our website on the calendar. So please RSVP if you haven't, and we'll see you then.